Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Natural Resources, Agriculture, and Open Space Subcommittee of the ENT Committee. We have two bills this afternoon. We're going to work on the Spay and Neuter Fund, House Bill 146, and the Neonic Bill, House Bill 208. Delegate Lehman has asked, she's like running over to an Annapolis office right now. So we'll start with the Neonic Bill. The neonicotinoids, that's House Bill 208. We had this hearing last week. And Kristen, we had there was an amendment about behind the counter. Do you want to just first of all describe the bill and then that amendment?
Okay, I'm not sure. Here, I guess I'll talk to the bill and then I'll see if I need to share my screen. So the bill would require a person that sells a neonicotinoid pesticide that they can only sell to a certified applicator or a farmer, and that they must store the pesticide behind the counter and in a manner that is inaccessible to a customer without the assistance from the person or an employee of the person. And what the amendment would do is on page 3, it would, beginning in line 10, it would strike the language behind the counter and. So it would then end up requiring the store to store the neonic in a manner that is inaccessible to a customer, but it takes out that language that would have to be behind the counter. We received testimony that stores just aren't really set up that way, where there's necessarily this behind the counter kind of situation.
All right. Is there any discussion on this bill or the amendment? You know,
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Delegate Stein.
Yeah, I think the amendment makes sense, since I guess her testimony, we sort of intuitively know that a lot of places don't have counters anymore. So retail locations. So I think it makes sense.
I'll note that we passed basically the language in law 2 or 3 years ago, and we thought, I thought that when we did this, that largely what was in this bill was covered, and what we're finding is that this language is just sort of updating to make clearer what we intended a couple years ago. Someone like to move the counter amendment?
I'll move the amendment.
Second.
Okay, on the amendment, all those in favor on the amendment?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, on the amendment, it's unanimous. Any other discussion on the bill?
What bill is this?
We're talking about the Neonicotinoid Bill, House Bill 208.
Okay. What did the amendment do?
House Bill 208. I'm calling up the fiscal note. It establishes a neonicotinoid pesticide may only be sold at retail to a certified applicator as currently defined, or a farmer. The bill also requires a retailer to store pesticides behind the counter, neonicotinoid pesticides, in a manner that is inaccessible to customers without assistance. And we just amended to take out the behind the counter language, but leave in the inaccessible language.
Based on the fact that some businesses don't have counters anymore.
Got you. And that language, was there any feedback from the industry on it?
I'm sorry, Melissa, feedback from the law?
Oh, about the amendment?
Oh, well, it was,
Feedback from who? It's the sponsors amendment. Is that what you're asking?
Oh, got you. Okay, yeah. It's
Delegate Healy offered that amendment.
Got you. Okay.
now, we also did hear from advocates who would like to allow neonicotinoids in wood products. And, you know, I was looking at that and I just didn't see, you know, the purpose of this bill was about clarifying and tweaking language that was already in legislation. That seems like a whole new area that we'd really have to discuss on a much deeper level. So I'm sort of passing over those amendments, but if someone wants to talk to them, certainly now would be the time. All right, do we have a motion on the bill as amended?
I got a couple questions.
Oh yeah, okay, Delegate Jacobs.
Well, first of all, there were several amendments that wanted to strike. No, not this bill. I'm sorry, I got that mixed up with Young, but I did have a question for, I don't know whether it's Steve Conley or Cassie's can answer in their letter of information. And go down to the last kind of large paragraph says, will not have a major impact on current activities or practices. However, it will initially require additional outreach and training. Both staff and regulated community will require additional inspections and/or additional time to complete inspections. It will put an extra onus on permitted retailers who already struggled. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Cassie will have to answer that, not me.
So what part of it do you want me to speak to? Just that MDA will have to do additional training?
I mean, you know, it says that it won't have a major impact. However, it will initially require additional outreach and training and additional inspections, additional time to complete inspections, put extra onus on permitted retailers who already have struggled through the COVID-19 pandemic.
It's just it would just be, you know, additional outreach and inspection to make sure that the businesses are in compliance with the new law.
Yeah. So how are they doing it now? I mean, is this going to be a lot of time? I guess is my question. I don't know how frequently they do it.
No, it wouldn't be a lot of extra time.
Okay.
And the department has no position on the bill.
Yeah, I saw that information. Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to vote against the bill because I don't think we're doing the appropriate thing or regulating it in this committee. But I think the amendment was clarifying, and I think it'll do more of what the intent was initially.
All right, thank you, Delegate Otto. All right, do we have the amended bill before us. Is there a motion? Delegate Lehman, we're on the neonicotinoid bill. We accepted the amendment to take out the language about the counter, and we're on the neonicotinoid bill.
Yeah, I'll move the bill as amended.
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor say aye. Raise your
Aye.
hand. Any opposed? Okay, I saw Charles and Jerry oppose. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to the other bill we have.
So what was the vote? What was the count on the vote?
It was
You want to do it again so we can write it down?
okay, if you're for it, raise your hand and we'll count. Okay, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Oh, and 6.
I think there were 6.
6. Okay, all those opposed. Okay, we have 6 to 2 on that. All right. The other bill on the agenda is House Bill 146. This is the spay and neuter fund bill. This is a program established 4 or 5 years ago in this committee, and it put a fee on dog food, and it allows the Department of Agriculture to make grants out statewide for spay and neutering. The hearing was just last week. Do we have any discussion on the bill? There are some amendments to talk about. Is there discussion on the bill?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'm concerned about the fee increases in it. I'm all supportive of extending the sunset of it, but the fee was established initially as a registration to cover cost of a feed inspection and things like that. And then we tacked this tax on it to create this other fund. And I don't think it's appropriate. It's to increase it more. I remember the negotiations and the discussions that we had, this committee worked hard on when this was established.
Delegate Otto, the Humane Society presented amendments that would strike the fee increase and ask Department of Agriculture to report on a number of items. Kristen, could you explain that amendment?
Yeah, and let me see if I can share my screen just to talk about it and have it up on the screen. Sorry, I thought I already had it up, but I do not. I'll bring it up in a second. I'll explain it.
Okay.
And so what the Humane Society amendments would do is they would strike the fee increases in the bill. They would keep the sunset extension, and then by October 1st, 2021, the amendment would require MDA to report to the General Assembly with a program evaluation, identifying any significant programs that are currently not funded, the market capacity to further increase the fees, and a recommendation for the fee structure over the next 5 to 10 years of the program that would enhance the revenue generated to the fund. And I'll bring that up on my screen if you want to look at that again, or here, or just be able to read it yourself.
Mr. Chairman, could I just chime in here and ask two things? Oh, thank you, Kristen. Yeah, that it's up there. I guess other people can see it. So just by way of a little bit of background, first of all, I did request that if it was okay, unless you're not letting them in yet, for Jennifer Bevan Dangle from the Humane Society and Lisa Radoff for Maryland Votes Animals, unless we don't have them in for a reason, or they here and we can't see them, or.
No, they're both here. I see boxes for both of them.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, we could not reach consensus on an increase with either the Department of Agriculture, and I did have some good conversations with Ms. Shirk, and I really appreciate, the feedback and the insight she gave me. I also had a couple of candid conversations with just one lobbyist that represented the some of the fraction of the pet food industry members that pay into this fee. And the sort of compromise, if you will, was actually proposed by the Humane Society in conversations with me and others. And I liked it because instead of it being a traditional sort of like study and this kind of a rabbit hole, it would be an evaluation by the department itself with a stated goal of enhancing the existing program, so that it wouldn't, come back with, actually there should be a reduction in this fee, because as the statistics I provided in the hearing show, we are still euthanizing way too many, tens of thousands of cats and dogs every year in this state. And, I'm not going to get into the issues around the Department of Agriculture is withholding year to year. But, I think I believe the goal should be to enhance the program, but rather than pick a random number of, $25 more over 5 years or $50 more, we figured a department evaluation, as you can see in the yellow highlights, that take into account market capacity for an increase. And when they reference programs not funded, that is at least in part, and Jennifer Bevan-Dangle or Lisa can add more, but one thing that is referencing that we touched on the hearing is possible TNR programs for feral cats. Now, some of those programs are funded by these Department of Agriculture grants, but my understanding is they are not always funded because in some counties, some county animal management agencies are not really on board with the concept behind TNR. Although, each year it seems like more counties are coming around to it, to acknowledging that feral cat populations are not going away. And this is probably the most effective way to deal with them, is by spaying and neutering them. So with that, I will ask the chair if there are questions from members, or if Ms. Bevan-Dangle or Ms. Radoff has anything else to add.
Certainly, they're welcome to respond. Can everybody, this, Kristen, that you have on the screen is language that the Humane Society submitted?
Yes, this was part of their testimony.
And so it it strikes the fee increases, and it asks Department of Ag to report.
Yep.
When is that? In October of this month or before?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so the October date is significant, Chair Gilchrist, if I could just point out, because this that gives the department some time to conduct that evaluation, but then the requirement that it come back and report to the General Assembly is well in advance of the 2022 General Assembly session to adopt any further changes before the law expires in September of 2022. And that's exactly the reason when I talked about why I'm bringing this bill forward now, is we didn't want to be at a stalemate next year in the 90-day session when the law would expire, during the interim session in the fall of 2022.
Delegate Stein.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So Delegate Lehman, just so I'm completely clear, this proposed language that's on the screen, you are fine with, you're good with adopting that as an amendment?
I am, and I actually requested it to be drafted as an amendment by the amendment office, and we do have it in that form. I am comfortable with that. As I said, I do fully and firmly believe that a fee increase is appropriate, but rather than pick, a random number that may be too low or may be too high, I think this is preferable, considering that I could not reach consensus with either the Department of Agriculture or the one representative of the pet food industry. Both of them, I'm disappointed to say, I wasn't as surprised about the pet food industry not wanting to see an increase. I was a little taken aback that the Department of Agriculture's response, and I don't place this, this isn't personal to Ms. Shirk, but their response was that an increase is not justifiable at all. Like, as if even 10 years from now, it's not justifiable. And I don't agree with that.
Okay, well, I'm happy to move this amendment.
Second.
Thank you.
All right, we have a
Stop sharing if you don't mind, just so I can see everybody.
yeah, thank you, Kristen. Okay, Teresa, if we were to call a roll, would you be able to do that?
Yeah, I'd be able to.
Normally
Or Kristen.
we don't keep record generally in subcommittee, that voting outcome. But I mean, we can jot it down, but there's no official record that's kept.
Okay. Let's, okay, all those in favor of the amendment, raise your hand or say aye.
I've got a question.
Oh, okay, we're holding off on the vote.
Hold on to vote for a second there.
Delegate Jacobs.
How about if we just extend the sunset for 3 years? And then you're not jammed up with the next year running out. And it just eases some of this burden of trying to come to all these numbers by October, number one, and then have to deal with it next year, trying to jam it through.
Okay.
I would rather not do that. I appreciate the question, Delegate Jacobs, but a lot of work went into this many years ago before I was in the General Assembly. And I think most folks agree. I think, Ms. Sherman agree. The program has worked very well, and it has made a significant difference in the shelter overpopulation problem and brought those euthanasia numbers way down. I want to turn around and have to revisit this in, God willing, if I'm reelected in 3 years from now. That's my feeling. And when I work with Ms. Flynn on this, on drafting this legislation, we looked at whether we should put another 10-year sunset on this or whether we should remove the sunset altogether and make this a permanent, or as permanent as a law can be. And I opted for another 10-year, for another 10 years.
Yeah, well, I was on the committee when we did all this work, and I know it's had some positive results. I'm not denying that, but there's certainly a multitude of testimony here that's concerned with that increase, and clearly trying to strike that part of the bill completely out. So I didn't want to stop the program. I think the program's been good, but one thing that I have concerns with, and I think many others, were these fee increases.
Well, the program would continue. I appreciate that, Delegate Jacobs. The program would continue in the meantime at the $100 per company, per license, or per label, or whatever the term is that they use. If I could go back really quickly, Mr. Chairman, to Delegate Otto's point, my understanding is that there are two separate fees, and a $50 fee on either each company, again, or each product is a separate fee from this $100 fee. And it's paid, Ms. Short, correct me if I'm wrong, to the state chemist to ensure that this food that we are feeding our dogs and cats is not, tainted or otherwise, a problem that somehow our pets are going to end up being sick. They are two different fees. And while I understand that together they add up together, as one lobbyist pointed out, to a bottom line figure that all these companies pay, they are in separate parts of the law, and they are for separate things, these two different fees.
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Well, Delegate Clark, can I just ask a clarification on the amendment?
Sure, go ahead.
Jennifer Bevan Dangle, are you here?
Yes, sir.
Your amendment retains the program being extended to 2032, right?
That is correct. We would, with all respect to Delegate Jacobs, we would strongly oppose any effort to not continue the program for a full 10 years. When you think about all the entities that are involved in this type of work, you've got a whole array of shelter organizations, rescue organizations, the state board itself. The guarantee that the baseline of this program will continue for that 10-year window is critically important to them as they do their long-term planning, as they plan out their spay and neuter clinics, which are built out, for a long period of time at any given point. So we strongly encourage the renewal of the program. And I do want to acknowledge we have Joanne Goldberg here, who's representing Barks. If there are any questions about how extra fees could possibly be needed, that was something that was raised during the hearing. Our suggestion is simply to avoid the fee structures as currently proposed, because we believe there does need to be a study to ensure we're maximizing the revenue for the program.
Thank you, Jennifer. Delegate Jacobs, is that how you? So the amendment leaves in the 10-year extension of the program. It just it takes out the fee increase. Is that your understanding?
Well, I think that generalizes my understanding, but it's leading in what it's trying to do, and it's trying to come up with more money. That's in the verbiage of it, of what you're looking at is trying to figure out how to get more money in there. That's what it says in the amendment. So, I have no problem extending the program. Like I said, I don't see where there's a problem, but I spoke with the Department of Ag and they indicated that an increase was not necessary. And if you look at the testimony from many of these people, they're saying the same thing. So, that's my concern is the increase.
Mr. Chair,
Okay, okay. Well, the language of the amendment asks for a report, and it does, ask for, market capacity on the fees. So yeah, it is in there. Delegate Ruth.
thank you, Mr. Chair. I think that even though that they say a fee increase is not justified, I think that the numbers of dogs and cats that are still being euthanized indicates that there is still a need to reduce that population, and we're not reducing it enough. And so, I definitely, to me, it seems that the fee is justified, the fee increase, and that we need to find out, really, I think that the point of this research in the amendment is to find out, can we further reduce that population by, increasing the fee and the amount of money spent on this program.
Yeah, thank you for that, Delegate Ruth. Mr. Chair, if I could just add really quickly in response to Delegate Jacobs' concern. Yes, we are making clear that, we want to see the program enhanced because of those euthanasia numbers. But a part of that could be, one small part of it, granted, could be the agency being a little more efficient at how, how it spends the money it does have, maybe not holding over the full 20% year to year. That's one possibility, but it could conclude that the right number is something more like $110 or $115. And, if they back that up with their market analysis and then an enhancement that, looks at who didn't get funded and whether it was, more on the feral side or wherever else it might have been. I think the amendment is thoughtful, and I think it covers all those different scenarios.
Can I ask a question of the department?
Sure.
So either Steve or Cassie, why does the department hold 20%?
The law requires that it's a special fund that it pays for the administration of the program. And that requires that you have staff. We have one person who works with the Spay Neuter Board and the programs to administer it's a competitive grant program. So it's we go before the appropriations and budget committees. They approve the special fund budget, but the law requires that the administrative cost is covered by the fees that are generated.
All right, thank you.
Jim, this Jerry.
Okay. All right, I'm looking to see if anyone's raising their hand. Oh, Jerry.
Yeah. Did we get an answer to the question about the online sales and whether they pay into this fund at all?
Well, I think that's a different, let's hold off. Have we voted on the amendments?
Yeah, I think staff were going to look at that, but
wait a minute. Just let's go back to where Jim was looking at where we are in the process. And I believe maybe it was Delegate Stein had moved amendments. And so that's, to kind of take us back to where the process is. There was a motion on those amendments.
And these are the Humane Society amendments. And I think we all understand those now. It takes out the fee increase, extends the program for 10 years. Ask for the report from Department of Agriculture. And we have a motion and a second. So let's do those amendments and then we can talk about other issues after that. Okay, all those in favor of the amendment, raise your hand or say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any opposed? Okay. So the Humane Society amendments pass. Do we have more discussion? Okay, Delegate Clark.
My only discussion was, I was just wondering if we had found anything out about the online sales. And you know, I like this bill, but I'd like to see if we really need to raise the rate. I mean, I've worked very hard as a commissioner on some animal control ordinances in Calvert County, and actually there is a feral cat farm that's on county land in Calvert County, where there's a group called Friends of Felines that actually go out and trap them, and they spade and neuter them off of their own charitable donations that they get in from folks, and then they turn them loose on the farm. But I just would like to find out about the online sales, because you know, as we go forward, you're going to see more and more of stuff of that kind of stuff being bought online. So I mean, if you're
Delegate
going to
Clark, if I can say, I'm not sure whether Ms. Flynn or anyone else looked into this, but after the hearing, it occurred to me, and I will double check this unless Ms. Shirk knows, I'm virtually certain that outfits like Chewy do not pay into this, because it dawned on me that Chewy is basically like an Amazon for pet food and pet supplies. So they would be like a retailer essentially. And the companies that are paying into this are actually manufacturers of pet food. So think of Rachel Ray and Purina and, you know, all of those companies, they pay by the label. So I think, as the one pet food industry lobbyist said, if, you know, one company has, you know, the same food, but it's some kind of, say it's a, you know, a dog food that's salmon and sweet potato, and there's a, you know, high fat, low fat, you know, puppy version or senior dog version, they would pay for each of those, that $100 fee on each of those labels. But my understanding is this is only pet food companies, the same companies that have to pay this fee to the state chemist to ensure that their products are you know, not going to be harmful to our pets.
Well, I guess the other question then is the products that are shipped in online, are they actually tested by the chemist? If they don't have a presence on a shelf, on a retail shelf in the state of Maryland, and they're shipped directly from a warehouse from anywhere directly into Maryland, are they really checked?
I don't know if Mr. Connolly or Ms. Shirk can answer that. I can't.
Yeah, Delegate Lehman, and Delegate Clark, I'll try to answer that. This, to legally be able to have a pet food product, whether it's a food or a pet treat, to be sold legally in the state of Maryland, they have to be registered with the state chemist, and they have to, the product has to meet what the label says that it is. For online sales, most online sales, those products would be registered with the Maryland State Chemist. The state chemist periodically will review what's being sold online. If they find a product that is not registered, they will issue a stop sale order. That product will no longer be able to be sold. The company's usually pretty quick about complying and getting that product registered. And just with the Amazon, they actually have, I believe, 17 products that are registered with the Maryland State Chemist, their own name brand products. But Chewy, as a platform for selling retail, they're not required to be registered with the state chemist. It's the manufacturer of the product.
Okay, so Amazon pays the fee to have it analyzed.
They pay the fee to have the product registered, and then there will be, they look at the product at the state chemist's office. I don't work in the state chemist's office. It's a different section of the department. We use their database of the registered products to invoice for the spay and neuter program.
Okay.
Thank you, Steve.
You're welcome.
Okay. So on the bill as amended,
Mr. Chair, can I move the bill favorable as amended?
yes, that's a motion. Do we have a
I'll
second?
make a
Second.
motion favorable as amended.
Second.
All right. All those in favor? Delegate Jacobs, do you have something? You're smiling.
No, she was very anxious to move her own bill, I'll say that.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed?
No, I'm for the bill. Go ahead.
All right, I thought you meant
Charles, come on, Charles.
he's for it. Okay, thank you all for being here. And, you know, we're trying to figure out ongoing how these Zoom subcommittee meetings are working. So please reach out if you have any ideas. I know, you know, tomorrow Delegate Stein has to run one of these and he's interested too. And, you know, my aide here, Teresa, is trying to figure it all out. So if anyone has suggestions, please let us know. We're trying to figure this out as we go along. And is there anything else anyone would like to say? Okay, thank you all for being here.